There was a time when words could bruise the soul. Every sentence carried weight, every tone felt sharp enough to draw blood. Conversations lingered like smoke, clouding the mind long after they ended. Those days taught the cost of emotional exposure. Every insult echoed for days, because the heart hadn't yet learned distance. But growth reshapes perception. Now those same words pass through like air. The emotions behind them feel small, hollow, powerless. It's not numbness, it's recognition. You've outgrown the frequency that once made you flinch. Their tone hasn't changed, but your meaning of it has. What once broke confidence now only tests composure. That's what happens when awareness becomes armor. You hear the same noise, but it no longer touches the same nerves. The dialogue that once wounded now feels like a replay of an old film, predictable, distant, unworthy of reaction. Maturity replaced pain with clarity. Emotional endurance isn't built through ease, it's built through repetition. The same conversations that once drained energy became training grounds. Over time, the mind stopped personalizing cruelty. You began hearing patterns instead of insults. The person speaking was no longer an enemy, just a projection of their own chaos. Once that clicked, everything changed. Words stopped landing because they no longer had a place to stay. You learned to respond with silence that carried more strength than 1,000 arguments. The satisfaction once found in defending yourself was replaced by peace and detachment. Those who once sought control through dialogue found none. They mistook your calm for indifference, unaware it was precision. You didn't stop feeling, you simply stopped absorbing. Every phrase that once tore through confidence now dissolves before it finds entry. That's the quiet power of awareness. It removes the sting from sound without muting the lesson. Growth changes the way sound moves through memory. Before, every cruel comment left an echo. It wasn't just the words, it was the attachment to being understood. You once believed explanation could fix misunderstanding. But time revealed that some people never seek understanding. They seek reaction. Once you saw that truth, the game ended. You stopped trying to prove innocence to those committed to distortion. Their language no longer felt personal. It felt mechanical. You could hear manipulation in its rhythm, detect insecurity in its volume. That realization turned pain into study. You began observing tone like weather, something that passes, not something that defines. Even confrontation became art. You no longer argued to win, you spoke to end. Every response was shorter, colder, cleaner. The same phrases that once shattered now barely register. That's not coldness, it's calibration. Awareness taught you that weight belongs only to words that align with truth. There's a specific freedom in realizing not every conversation deserves a reaction. You once believed silence made you weak, but now it feels like control. People still try to provoke, still wrap insults in smiles, but their words slide off like rain on glass. It's not that the dialogue stopped hurting. It's that you stopped offering pain a place to live. That's when conversations lose their weight. You realize that the real strength isn't in winning verbal battles. It's in not needing to fight at all. The world moves differently when you stop engaging from emotion and start responding from understanding. The louder someone gets, the more their weakness shows. Your calm became the mirror that exposes. You don't have to prove superiority. It's felt through stillness. The same words that once caused sleepless nights now sound like background noise. The storm still rages, but it no longer reaches your shore. Even in familiar rooms, the atmosphere feels different now. The people who once thrived on tension speak cautiously, unsure how to trigger what no longer exists. You sit across from them, calm, observing, detached from old narratives. They speak the same language, but the meaning has changed. You no longer hear insult, you hear insecurity. You no longer hear accusation, you hear fear. That's what evolution does. It replaces sensitivity with sight. When emotions stabilize, perception expands. The entire emotional economy of conversation shifts. What once felt like attack now reads like exposure. You recognize projection the way a surgeon recognizes anatomy. Precise, emotionless, certain. Every exchange becomes lighter because you carry none of it home. It ends where it begins. That's emotional discipline, the ability to experience interaction without absorption. The more you master it, the more the world adjusts its tone to match your stillness. The shift wasn't instant. It came through pain, reflection, and withdrawal. At first, silence felt empty. You wanted to explain, to clarify, to be understood. But over time, exhaustion turned to clarity. You realized understanding was never the goal for most. It was control. That's when detachment became power. You stopped seeking fairness in words and started finding balance in energy. The conversations didn't stop, but the effect did. Their tone stayed the same, yet it no longer echoed. Your peace stopped depending on their decency. That's how lightness begins. It's not about avoiding harshness, it's about becoming immune to it. You don't demand softness anymore because you carry it within. The world still speaks in noise, but you translate it differently. Every phrase feels lighter because your interpretation has changed. Pain no longer attaches to meaning. It just passes through, leaving awareness in its wake. Now, every interaction feels like a choice, not a battlefield. The old version of you reacted on instinct, needing to defend pride, prove value, win the argument. But awareness rewired that impulse. You see no honor in emotional warfare. Let them speak. Words reveal more about the speaker than the target. Silence became your strategy because silence never exposes weakness. People try to pull you back into old patterns, but you no longer fit them. The same insults once sharp now sound recycled. It's like hearing a song from a life you no longer live. That's the beauty of evolution. It renders the old script irrelevant. The power lies not in what you say, but in what you no longer need to say. Every moment of restraint is a statement. Conversations still happen, but now they orbit around you, never through you. That's the weightlessness born from knowing who you are. There's a certain calm that unnerves those who thrive on chaos. They talk louder, gesture wider, desperate to provoke reaction. Yet nothing lands. You smile instead, half amusement, half pity. The distance between words and effect has widened so much that it feels surreal. What once would have been an argument now feels like theater. You've learned to watch performances without auditioning for a role. Every emotionally charged sentence that comes your way dissolves in your awareness before it hits. That's not arrogance. It's equilibrium. The strength isn't in dominance, it's in neutrality. When you stop assigning value to every opinion, words lose power. Even disrespect becomes data. You see motive instead of malice. That understanding frees you. The same world that once demanded reaction now revolves around your silence. Conversations that used to cut now graze the surface, forgotten before they finish. That's mastery disguised as ease. People sense the change even if they can't name it. They walk carefully now, aware that emotional hooks no longer work. You've stopped being accessible in the ways that made you easy to exploit. What replaced defensiveness wasn't apathy, it was wisdom. You no longer meet aggression with tension, you meet it with emptiness. That neutrality confuses those who rely on conflict to feel powerful. They don't realize you've stopped living in the same frequency. The gravity that once pulled you into chaos has no hold anymore. Every word now feels like wind, passing, harmless, temporary. You still hear everything, but nothing lingers. That's when the world truly changes. Not when the noise stops, but when you no longer hear it the same way. Conversations still happen, but their impact has vanished. The weight left with the old version of you, the one that needed to be understood. It was never loud, never theatrical. The real twist arrived quietly, hidden beneath calm composure and measured speech. Everyone expected the old version. The one who explained too much, forgave too easily, believed too deeply. But that person disappeared the moment awareness took root. The world thought it could predict the ending, like a story already written. Yet something shifted. The once predictable character stopped following the script. The eyes grew sharper, the patience longer. Every insult that was meant to sting turned into data. Every betrayal that was meant to destroy became fuel. The twist wasn't in revenge, it was in transformation. Those who thought they had you figured out learned what happens when a soul stops reacting and starts designing. The plot flipped not through anger, but through mastery. A story they thought was over suddenly had a new author, and the ending now belonged to someone reborn. People always assume the ones who fall stay fallen. They mistake silence for surrender and distance for defeat. That's what made the reversal so devastating. No one expects calm to win. Yet here it stood, unshaken, strategic, unrecognizable. The same observers who once whispered doubts now replay conversations in their minds, trying to locate where control slipped away. But control never slipped. It was taken back quietly, one decision at a time. That's how power works when rebuilt from ruins. It hides behind grace. Every time someone underestimated strength, the plot thickened. They believed they knew the outcome because they couldn't imagine change without spectacle. The truth is, growth is silent until it echoes. When you rebuild with purpose, the world doesn't notice until it's too late. And that's the beauty of your plot twist. It didn't shout for validation. It let reality reveal who was truly ahead. There's an art to shock that doesn't rely on performance. The twist wasn't revenge. It was evolution disguised as nonchalance. The most unsettling thing for those who once controlled the narrative was realizing you never sought to destroy them. You simply outgrew them. Growth has a way of humiliating those who mistake it for weakness. You moved differently, spoke differently, radiated something they couldn't name. The same eyes that once watched for your flaws began to look away first. The twist didn't arrive through words. It arrived through contrast. You became the evidence of every truth they tried to deny. When the energy shifted, even time seemed to bow to your pace. The plot changed not because of conflict, but because of clarity. While others played small, chasing validation, you mastered detachment. And in doing so, you rewrote every rule of engagement, proving that peace, when understood, is the most dangerous ending imaginable. Every great plot twist begins with observation. You watched patterns repeat long before you acted. The manipulations, the gossip, the empty performances, it all became predictable. People underestimate those who wait. They confuse restraint with weakness. What they never realize is that stillness collects power. Each insult became another page in your mental ledger. Each betrayal sharpened perception. The twist came not from impulse, but from preparation. You studied their motives while pretending not to notice. By the time you made your move, it wasn't out of emotion. It was execution. That's what makes the story unforgettable. They expected drama, but you delivered precision. When people play games, they rarely consider what happens when the observer decides to play back, but smarter. The twist wasn't in your rise. It was in their realization that they had been performing for someone who always knew the ending. The irony is that no one saw it coming because everyone thought they were above the lesson. They took comfort in their arrogance, believing the story would always revolve around them. That's how blindness operates. It mistakes familiarity for control. But control shifts quietly. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped feeding their projections. The moment your validation became internal, everything external began to change. The people who once shaped your image now struggle to recognize it. That's what happens when perception meets truth. It collapses. The twist wasn't revenge or triumph. It was the revelation that you no longer belonged to their version of you. Growth became your rebellion. Stillness became your statement. The story they wrote for you expired without your permission. And when they finally noticed, the credits had already rolled, leaving them frozen in disbelief, wondering how the narrative slipped through their hands. What makes your twist powerful isn't what you did. It's how naturally it unfolded. There was no grand reveal, no confrontation, no declaration of change. You just lived differently. The absence of chaos was the message. The way you stopped defending your peace was the declaration. They thought power was loud, but power, when real, moves invisibly. You walked away, not in bitterness, but in understanding. The same people who once called you knave now call you unpredictable. They can't label what they can't manipulate. The twist lives in that confusion. You didn't become a villain. You just stopped being a victim. The realization that you're no longer controlled by emotional hooks terrifies those who once fed on them. Freedom looks cold to those addicted to control. Yet that's what makes the twist so beautiful. It's not about proving anything. It's about becoming untouchable by everything that once drained your soul. Change always comes quietly to those who are paying attention. There's something haunting about watching the narrative reverse without needing to lift a finger. The world that once made you question your worth now feels smaller, less powerful, almost fragile. People who once felt larger than life now speak in smaller tones, measuring words they once threw carelessly. That's what happens when truth replaces fear. The dynamic shifts permanently. You learn to sit in silence long enough to hear people's true intentions. That awareness turned into leverage. By the time the twist revealed itself, it was already complete. It wasn't something you planned. It was something you became. Maturity itself was the plot twist. Peace disguised as vengeance. Clarity disguised as distance. The same silence that once looked like defeat became the very thing that dismantled every illusion. They wanted chaos, you gave them calm. And calm, when mastered, dismantles everything it touches. The best twists never come from rage. They come from realization. The realization that you don't need closure when you carry understanding. That you don't need to be seen to be significant. The power came the moment you stopped begging to be understood and started living in truth. People who once read your story aloud began tripping over their own words. The version of you they discussed no longer existed. You outgrew the environment that shaped your pain, and the moment you did, everything connected to it began to wither. That's what growth does. It changes the gravity of your existence. When you ascend, anything not meant for your altitude falls away. The twist wasn't personal. It was inevitable. They were never the obstacle. They were the catalyst. Every betrayal became direction. Every disappointment became refinement. The plot turned the moment you realized peace isn't earned through others. It's reclaimed through yourself. The silence that followed the twist spoke louder than any revenge could. Those who once sought validation in your reactions now chase ghosts. They look for the same energy they once drained, but it's gone. You've become unreachable, not physically, but energetically. There's something sacred about knowing you no longer belong to their orbit. The story moved on, yet they stayed trapped in the old chapter, rereading lines that no longer apply. That's the true victory. Not their pain, but your detachment. The new version of you doesn't need to defend the transformation, it embodies it. Every word you speak carries a calm authority that used to require explanation. That's what terrifies people most. The realization that your peace is permanent. They can't unsee what awareness made visible. They can't unfeel what your silence revealed. The story ended, but the memory of your twist will echo like a prophecy they never expected. There was a time when every accusation demanded an explanation, when misunderstanding felt like a threat to identity. Every false story sparked the same cycle, proving, explaining, justifying. The noise was endless. It drained strength because validation became the oxygen of survival. But something shifted. Understanding replaced the need to be understood. Knowing replaced defending. The awareness came slowly but permanently. Truth stopped needing witnesses. Silence became enough. The energy once wasted on convincing others began building something better. Composure. The quiet satisfaction of knowing became stronger than the applause of being believed. Those still shouting their side of the story look exhausted now, fighting wars that no longer exist in your world. You no longer attend every argument you're invited to. The power of peace outweighs the thrill of being right. When truth is yours, silence becomes your sharpest statement, and that quiet feels more victorious than any vindication. People once accused you of arrogance when you stopped explaining, but they mistook evolution for ego. Defending yourself once felt like control, but it was submission disguised as logic. You used to believe that if you said the right words, others would see clearly. But truth doesn't require translation. It reveals itself over time. When that realization took hold, you stopped rushing the process. You began trusting time more than debate. The satisfaction comes from watching things unfold naturally, without interference. Those who doubted you start to expose themselves through their own contradictions. The old version of you would have tried to correct them. The new version lets them talk until the truth becomes undeniable. There's a strange peace in that patience. It's the sound of awareness maturing. You no longer carry the burden of persuasion because truth doesn't crumble under silence. It solidifies. And that's the real victory. At some point, defending stopped feeling like dignity and started feeling like desperation. Every word used to sound like pleading for belief. You didn't see that convincing others means surrendering control. That realization burned, but it freed you. Now, silence carries what words never could: certainty. People still try to provoke explanations, but explanations belong to the uncertain. You learn that the truth doesn't compete with rumor. It waits. Time is its only translator. The need to defend was born from fear. The satisfaction of knowing was born from mastery. The difference between the two is confidence. You stopped chasing fairness and started embodying clarity. The same accusations that once left you restless now sound irrelevant. Those who once judged now repeat themselves into exhaustion, hoping your stillness will crack. But it never does. Because once you know, you stop proving. And when you stop proving, you win without motion. The power of knowing isn't loud. It's unnervingly calm. People expect conflict, they feed on it. They mistake silence for weakness until it holds. You once lived trying to clarify every misunderstanding, thinking the right defense could change perception. But perception belongs to the observer, not the accused. Once that truth settled, the urge to explain dissolved. Those who want to believe lies will believe them anyway. Those who seek truth will find it without your help. So you stop participating in distortion. You stopped making noise to earn peace. And somehow, that withdrawal reversed everything. The ones who doubted you started to question themselves. The quiet became intimidating. Knowing became enough. The satisfaction isn't in winning an argument. It's in realizing you never needed to fight one. Those who live in deception fear silence, because silence is memory, and it always waits for the right moment to speak. There's something almost divine about stillness after years of defending. You used to feel every false word like a blade. Now you watch it fall before reaching. That transformation didn't come from apathy, it came from awareness. Defensiveness means attachment. Knowing means freedom. You learned that those who attack truth always reveal their weakness faster than you could ever prove your strength. The quiet satisfaction lies in observation. You can watch storms unfold now without flinching because you understand how temporary noise is. What lasts is energy, and energy never lies. The ones who once spoke loudly about you have started whispering about themselves. You didn't expose them, their need to justify did. The irony of truth is that it never seeks revenge. It waits patiently until the world catches up. You no longer defend because there's nothing left to defend. What you know carries enough weight to hold its own. There's a sharp kind of intelligence that grows in those who stop arguing. You can sense manipulation before it starts. You can read tone before words finish. Every attempt to provoke now feels like a child's trick. The old impulse to respond has been replaced by quiet amusement. Those who misunderstand calmness think it's compliance, but calmness is strategy. When you stop defending, you start directing. Control leaves the loud and finds the composed. The mind that no longer rushes to explain is dangerous. It watches, remembers, decides. Knowing makes reactions irrelevant. You've learned that some people only ask questions to confirm their own lies, and silence ruins their rhythm. So you let them talk. You let them circle their own confusion until truth becomes too heavy to ignore. That's when satisfaction comes, not through revenge, but through inevitability. Knowing becomes its own justice. Defending used to feel like survival. You thought if people believed you, the pain would lessen. But peace doesn't come from external agreement. It comes from internal alignment. Once your actions and intentions matched, validation lost its value. The difference between the past and now is that you don't need to convince anyone to trust what's already evident. The same people who demanded explanations now look for guidance, though they'll never admit it. That's how tables turn, silently, through consistency. Defending was emotional, knowing is logical. You respond less because your results speak louder than your words. The peace that comes from no longer explaining yourself is addicting. You live lighter. The noise fades. What used to feel like betrayal now feels like background. Nothing external can define what's already grounded. And that groundedness, the one built from awareness, patience, and restraint, is the kind of strength no storm can shake. There's a satisfaction that silence gives when you've seen too much. It's not coldness, it's wisdom refined through exhaustion. Once you stop defending, the world stops confusing your peace for weakness. You stopped giving people front row seats to your explanations. You stopped trying to correct those committed to misunderstanding. That restraint transformed into power. Every false narrative runs out of fuel when you stop feeding it.